Hello everybody, happy Wednesday. Hope everyone is doing well. We are going live today with Michali, an extra live this week, and actually our last one before Pesach, to answer a question that was asked on the AMA. Hello Chaya, thank you for joining. Hello Miriam. Hey Miriam, I'm happy that you were able to join. I feel like I saw a message about asking if it can be after work hours. Hello Toby, we're just gonna wait for Michali to show up. Hello, Michali. Let's see if that worked.
Hello. Hi. Hey, how are you?
Michali. I like that. I like that.
Thank you.
I like
It's
glasses.
called Staying Up with Kids All Night luck.
Oh my God.
I don't know if anyone can see the lovely art behind me. We've got stickers on the wall. That's what we did this morning.
It's so funny. I didn't see it. That, it's
Oh,
like
cool.
blurred
Okay, that works.
I don't see it,
So we have a really great question for our final live before the holiday. Should I start with it?
Yeah, sure. I kind of paraphrased it just because, of course, first I spent like 10 minutes reopening every single AMA to try to find it, and I could swear it disappeared because there were so many questions that had to do with it, and I could not find a single one after. That's the most annoying thing about the NGL app, that it doesn't let you reclose them after you do. Super annoying. So if they're listening, make that fix. So basically that I just summarized the topic, but it was asked many times over in different ways. So you can
so the topic is, I'm just looking at my computer. It's how to manage without therapy over the holidays / Pesach break. Do you want to take the floor with this, Faye, first? I feel like I'm always taking the floor.
No, I love when you take the floor. Please take the floor.
So first of all, I just want to validate that it's really, really hard when, especially for those of us who go to therapy, once a week, and we're just relying on this as a huge source of support and stability and sanity and direction week in and week out, and then we're off for a few weeks. I think first and foremost, discussing this with your own therapist to come up with a specific plan for you based on what you're in treatment for is going to be crucial to your mental health over the holiday. I think also if you ask yourself what is the purpose of my therapy, what does it serve, how does this serve me, what does it do for me, and understand the parts of us that benefit from therapy, and then kind of think about other things that can kind of act as substitutes during this time would be the other step and piece of advice. It's kind of like when you're in school, and if you're lucky to have an amazing teacher, and then they go out on break, and then you have a substitute teacher, you might not really be happy that you have a sub, right? And you might want your regular teacher, and you're out of routine, and you're kind of learning this new way of being in a classroom, and it doesn't feel so great. It feels unsettling. But you may find that you discover that, hey, there's this whole other teacher and person or way of being in a classroom that you really, really like and enjoy too. It's different, but it also has benefit. So I would say find your substitute teachers, find what fills you emotionally, and then give that generously to yourself. That's kind of how I'd answer that question.
Yeah, I really like that analogy. I think that's so smart. I've never heard that
on
before.
the spot.
Did you make that up? I really like it.
It's
no
really
sleep is actually
good for me.
Good for
so
you,
anyone
apparently.
who has kids who are up all night, send them my way. Please don't. Please don't.
Be careful.
No one knows where I live, so that's good.
That's good. No, I really like that. I think there's beauty in a substitute teacher, I think sometimes. And just to go with your analogy, I was thinking how can you have fun during this time? I think that when we're during the year, during routine, everything's very serious for many people, and they're just I have to work on myself, and I have to do this, and I have to do that. And break allows you to kind of let go and let loose and just not be thinking about your growth and your trauma and your pain and your journey. Yeah, even if it gets triggered, like kind of like compartmentalize it and just be like, I'll deal with that after, you know? And I think that substitute teacher analogy works beautifully here, because it's like the same way with a substitute teacher, you might not be learning as much, you might not be, you know, growing as much academically, or, you know, whatever it is that the teacher would be teaching you, but you're able to like have fun.
I love that. Yeah.
Maybe like they do fun things with you. So like it works so beautifully, and you get the credit for that analogy. And yeah, that would be like one piece of advice. Like, see how you can not try to make Pesach have therapy in it, because it doesn't. And maybe the next 3 weeks just don't have therapy for you because your therapist is away or you're away or whatever it is. But how can it be therapy free and still be like, okay, like how can you do things that are completely different? And that could be, that doesn't mean, you know, that you're growing. It might even feel a bit like regression, but it's still, it's just being human. Exactly. So I think that that's like another thing. And then, like you said, there are so many things that we can do that are like self-therapy. So that whether that's reading personal development books, if that's, you know, if that nourishes you, whether it's reading about other people's journeys, whether it's being in nature, having stillness, being around friends, family, people that, you know, inspire you, or just that you feel good around. Like you said, like your substitute teacher. So who are those people that can be supported? I think, as I'm thinking, just like telling the people that are going to be your support team what you need from them. I think that that's like, I'm a big believer in that. Like, even, you know, whether it's in a micro moment of like, I'm struggling now and I'm going to share it with you and I need you to respond in this way. Can you do that for me? I think that that's super powerful, to more macro of like, Pesach's coming. I don't have my therapist. You're going to be one of the people that are supportive to me. This is what I would, you know, appreciate when I'm struggling. You know, this is what I might need from you, you know, and even though like it's a more macro level because it's not in the moment. So I'm a big believer in that. So like finding those people and preparing them in some level
I
of like
love
what you
that.
need.
I think it's so brilliant, because I think, you know, when I talk to people about, you know, friendships and how to cultivate and maintain friendships, a lot of times, you know, the way that we try to pinpoint how to do that is like thinking about what we like doing and our talents, our hobbies, our interests, and finding like-minded people or people that we share the same values or personality styles or communication styles, whatever it is. And I always emphasize like the person, I mean, this is like an oversimplification of this concept, but like the person that you like to do art with may not be the person that you like to have these deep conversations with. And that's okay. And then that second person might not be the person that you like to sing with. And that's okay. So I think like really understanding each person's role, I just love that idea. It's super, super important. And then one other thing that you said that contributed to this thought was, you know, a lot of times I tell my clients if they're struggling um, with other parts of their lives, but they really want to, you know, continue with therapy, is like I'll say to them, you know what, if you want to, this is not me kicking you out at all. My door is always open, but maybe use the money for the session and book a massage, you know, appointment instead. That might be more therapeutic for you than our therapy session this week, you know, or use that money to go out on a date with your best friend, you know, or any like something, you know, therapy. Look, I'm a huge believer in therapy. I will always love therapy. I will always be a therapist and a client. That's just my value. But I also recognize there are so many, you know, channels and avenues for healing and for filling these different parts of ourselves, which brings me to my last point is like, and this is like something I think you're going to like because you're a very spiritual person, Faye, is if you really connect to the spirituality of the holiday, look for like very personal messages that and lessons that you can learn from this holiday, and that also can be healing and therapeutic. There's so much scientific research on the connection between emotional and spiritual health, and I think that if we even just like do a little bit of like prep work when it comes to what does this holiday mean to us, like what are we focusing on in ourselves, or our relationship with God, our relationship with our family members, that can also kind of give us the fuel that we need and like kind of the direction that we might need for the next few weeks when we're not with our therapists.
Love that. You're totally right. I absolutely love that. And it's something like I'm naturally spiritual, as you know. and I'm in Tamun Bitachon, and I, fill myself with that type of content, but like, I didn't think of it in this context. And I think that's really smart to like intentionally connect to spirituality to give you that support, so whether it's like you heard a beautiful speech and that can like, ruminate about those topics and those concepts instead of ruminating about your therapy and your personal growth and your journey. I love that. So let's just look at some comments. I feel like some said that they're excited because they were nervous about not having therapy. The mashal and analogy that you gave really helps them think differently. So
thank you for that feedback.
Kudos for that. Thank you for that feedback. Let's just hear journaling helps me a lot during non-therapy days. Find out if you're allowed to write with a shinoi for your mental health. I am. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because there is like a halacha that you're not supposed to be writing, or it's maybe a chumrah. I don't even know. But people tend to try not to write over even like the Chalamai days. But I think that definitely you can ask a rabbi, and you will most likely get permission to write for your mental health in some capacity. So I think that's a great idea. Journaling is an amazing way to like get your therapy needs met without being in therapy. If you think about it, like therapy, I would say like 75% of it is hearing yourself talk. And it's a lot of
reflections and mirroring. So it's like another relationship that is mirror.
Like you can do that with the journal. Therapist out of business, clearly.
I agree.
To like say like, yes, a journal and a paper is like, it's just like sometimes like, to be honest, like we're human and we get lazy, and like it's much easier to like pay money to like have someone force you to talk to them than to like actually sit down for 20 minutes every day and write to yourself. But I think that they both have tremendous benefit, and I think that in the time that you don't have the therapy, doing that writing, being disciplined about it and being like, this is my therapy appointment, I think is really smart too. Definitely appreciate that comment.
Can I just say one more thing about that last comment? I think that, everyone is in a different place. Whoever's listening or going to watch this, I want to make sure that to acknowledge everyone's in a different place in their healing journeys and their therapeutic processes. So what we're saying is just like a very blanket kind of statement. If a person is really, if a person's in survival mode, there are so many heterim / exemptions halachically. So make sure that whatever rabbi, if you do consult with a rabbi, that it's someone who understands mental health and is sensitive to mental health. There are so many exemptions. I mean, I have clients who tell me that they're told they're allowed to scroll on the phone on Yom Tov itself. They're allowed to get in a car. There's like certain things that people are exemptions that they were given by their own rabbanim. If their mental health needs it, it's a huge value. Health is a huge value of ours. So I just want to put that out there that, for sure come up with a good game plan with your therapist. And if you think that you're at risk of getting hurt from a mental health perspective, then that is a big thing to address with your own therapist / psychiatrist / rabbi, if you have one or want one. But I think that in that category, there are so many options that can just kind of help us, not even just get by, but really enjoy this space to reflect and just be, Yeah,
I love that you said that. Like, I completely did not realize that, like, we were talking about this from a very high functioning perspective. And I think that, like, I love that you said that, not to be denigrating, like, high functioning, low functioning, but just somebody that's more like in survival mode. This conversation would definitely have been different in the sense of like, maybe you do need therapy and support, like consistent, professional support, even over Pesach. And that's a different conversation. And I love that you said that, because I think it's so important. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, some people really, they're going through a crisis, and they should make sure that whether it's a therapist that could be covering for their therapist that's away, whether it's still going to treatment, whether it's still staying in some sort of like intensive outpatient program or inpatient, whatever it is, mental health is a massive value in the Jewish world, and like it's our responsibility to make sure that we prioritize that. So I love that you said that. And somebody asked here, I see for rabbis who would, like, if we know any rabbis that are like proficient.
That's a $1 million question.
And
someone wrote, would you consider adding a listing of rabbis?
Yes. Eventually, it definitely was it's on my mind. I can't say it's like in the works, but definitely I do think that eventually we will have rabbis that do specialize in the mental health space. And then somebody shared that they can contact Haskenu. They have a great rabbi, so that's a great idea as well. I love what Chazkeinu does. Definitely supportive of it. So definitely a good idea.
Thank you, Fay.
Okay, amazing. Yes, I think we did this. Thank you so much, Michali. And this is our last live before Passover. So I'm wishing everyone a beautiful Chag,
Thank you,
and
Fay.
you as well,
Even though we'll
Michali.
talk.
And yeah, definitely be in touch. Exactly. I was thinking that as we're
For you and to the entire OK Clarity
exactly.
community. Feeling very grateful for the community.
Amazing. Sure. Thank you so much. And yes, I
We
hope this was supportive,
will
and
be
we will
back.
be back.
Take care for
Alrighty.
now.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for everything.